Picture this. It's the dead of a frozen Canadian night. A top-secret American bomber, and get this, it's carrying an atomic bomb, and it just vanishes. And the official story? It was a complete lie. This is the declassified story of what really happened. I mean, it's the ultimate nightmare scenario, isn't it? But on February 13th, 1950, this wasn't just a what-if. It became a reality. This was the moment the United States lost its very first nuclear weapon. For 3 years, the plane was just gone. Then, a search party, who wasn't even looking for a plane, they were looking for a lost millionaire, stumbled across this. A ghost wreck in a place it had no business being, hiding a Cold War secret that was supposed to stay buried forever. Okay, so how did we get here? This whole incredible story really kicks off not with the crash itself, but with the moment this ghost on the mountain was found. You see, the thing is, when this bomber, call sign Flight 2075, went down, the U.S. Air Force told everyone it had crashed harmlessly into the sea. That was it. Case closed. But this wreckage? Yeah, it was nowhere near the ocean. So you have the official story on one hand. Neat, tidy, a tragic accident over the ocean. But the truth? Buried under all that snow on Mount Kaluget was something else entirely. It was a logistical impossibility. And that leaves us with two absolutely massive questions at the heart of this mystery. First, how does a pilotless, crippled bomber manage to fly 200 miles over treacherous mountains? And maybe more importantly, where was its nuke? All right, to piece this whole puzzle together, we need to rewind the clock. Let's go back 3 years to that fateful, freezing night in 1950. So meet the plane at the center of all this, the Convair B-36B Peacemaker. This thing was an absolute beast, the largest bomber ever built at the time. It was on a top-secret training mission out of Alaska, practicing a nuclear strike on a Soviet city, with San Francisco playing the part of the target. I mean, this was the absolute razor's edge of the Cold War. Now, these missions were so incredibly dangerous that the military had a special code word for when it all went terribly wrong: Broken Arrow. And this flight was about to become the very first one. The Peacemaker had this nickname, the Magnesium Overcast, which sounds cool, but it's because its body was highly flammable. Well, 7 hours into the flight, in brutal, minus 40-degree weather, that little fact became a death sentence. The intense cold caused ice to build up and choke the engine's air intakes. The fuel mixture got way too rich, and the engine started backfiring, shooting these terrifying plumes of flame into the night sky. Within just a few minutes, half of the plane's 6 engines were on fire and had to be shut down. The massive plane was falling. So the pilot, Captain Harold Berry, had only seconds to make a series of impossible choices, with the lives of his crew and a nuclear weapon hanging in the balance. First things first, the bomb. They followed protocol and dropped the Mark IV over the Pacific. A bright flash was seen for miles when its 5,000 pounds of conventional explosives detonated in midair. Next, Captain Berry aimed the dying plane back out over the open ocean and flipped on the autopilot. Then, one by one, the 17-man crew bailed out into the freezing, pitch-black wilderness below. So you're probably wondering why no mushroom cloud. Well, luckily for these training flights, the bomb's plutonium core, the key ingredient for a nuclear blast, was replaced with a lead dummy. So it couldn't go nuclear, but it was still a radioactive, highly classified weapon, now lost somewhere in the ocean. Okay, so with the bomb dealt with, the crew's own survival became the next impossible challenge. We're talking 17 men jumping from a burning plane into the frozen darkness over a remote Canadian island. A massive search and rescue mission, Operation Bricks, was launched, and miraculously, against all odds, Canadian and American forces found 12 of the airmen alive, pulling them from that brutal cold. But 5 of the crew were never seen again. They were lost to the wilderness or the icy Pacific waters. Their fate remains one of the enduring tragedies of this story. With most of the survivors rescued and the plane presumed to be at the bottom of the sea, the U.S. government was ready to bury the secret. But the plane, as we know, didn't exactly cooperate. The second that wreck was found in '53, the U.S. Air Force scrambled a secret demolition team. They operated under a complete veil of secrecy. They didn't even tell their Canadian allies the plane was carrying a nuke. The mission was simple: recover the classified tech and destroy any remaining evidence. But that still leaves our biggest question. How did the plane get there? The official story is a lucky or maybe unlucky combination of wind and autopilot. But a more compelling theory persists that one of the 5 missing men, the weaponeer Captain Ted Schreier, stayed aboard, heroically piloting the dying plane to its final resting place. We may never really know for sure. You know, this whole story really reveals the deep paradox of the Cold War. To project a credible threat, the US had to keep these complex nuclear-armed bombers in the air pretty much around the clock. And this relentless pressure on both the crews and the machines created a system where a single point of failure, like a little bit of icing on an engine, could lead to a catastrophe. In this high-stakes game, accidents weren't just a risk, they were a statistical certainty. This was the very first broken arrow. It wasn't the last. The Pentagon has officially acknowledged 32 such accidents. And get this, 6 of those nuclear weapons were lost and have never, ever been recovered. It really makes you wonder, what else is still out there? If you want to dive deeper into declassified stories just like this one, make sure to subscribe to Hindsight History. Thanks for watching.